What's up, everybody? What's up? Um, Fall Camp Midway live stream. LSU, halfway or more than halfway during through fall camp, and there's some things that have been sticking out to us. Some obvious things, some glaring, maybe concerns. A lot of different range of topics for LSU fall camp, LSU 2023. This is a very interesting, intriguing team we've got here for 2023 across the board. So much uncertainty, but so much like proven guys who are returning in certain spots. Some big time veteran leaders we were able to hang on to. Some big time veteran leaders we lost to like the NFL. Um, a few to the transfer portal, a few depth guys we lost to the portal. How will those transfer portal guys we replace them with? How will they fare this season in 2023? There's so many questions, so many different high-powered names. Um, a lot of intrigue across the board. A lot of intrigue. What can Brian Kelly's LSU Tigers pull off in year two? That is the biggest question. You got Jaden Daniels, the nine running backs. You got this endless receiving core. You got these two freshmen who were unbelievable on offensive line who are coming back next year as sophomores, Emory Jones, Will Campbell. What will they be able to do? It's a very interesting team, the 2023 LSU Tigers, because they're ranked preseason inside, I believe, number 6, which makes sense. As they can underrate LSU as much as they want. I would gladly hope they underrate us just as much as possible and just dismiss us. That still wouldn't matter to me. I'm fine with being dismissed. That's all good for me. It's all good for me. Every time LSU are given the favorite badge and the coronation before everything is settled, usually things go bad, except for if we have Joe Burrow. But we're gonna go through some film here at Jaden Daniels throwing the football. We're gonna go through some stuff like that. So yeah, strap in. Definitely hit the comment section with questions you've got from fall camp. We've gotten a lot of footage. There's been a few people who have been able to make it to every single fall camp, or to most of them who have been graciously awesome sending us footage. And some that footage is how do I put this? Very insightful to what type of team this is, like just in personality, in vibe, in strength, mental character, mental strength. It's all there. It's still fall camp, but what they're doing in 110-degree weather right now, it's going to really pay off for this team, I think, down the road. One second. Send this out. That's the thing, is everyone wanted to talk about Jaden Daniels throwing the football the other day, saying he was lighting it up at camp. And, our biggest issue with Jaden Daniels throwing the football had always been his hesitancy. He would hesitate so bad and throw so late. So you basically would give guys no yards after catch opportunities. They'd get it and just get pummeled. So you get little dink and dunk 5-yard gains here and there. And it really wouldn't do anything for the offense, and it wouldn't even, give Jaden Daniels confidence in throwing the football there. Like, he would just be like, it's not really doing anything for us, so I might as well just run anyway. There's a lot of opportunities for us with the skill set from guys like Aaron Anderson, especially a guy like Malik Neighbors, where you get them the ball in space, let them make a move, let them make a guy miss, and just go to town. That is basically what the LSU 2019 offense was predicated on. Joe Burrow just knew when and how to distribute the football to these playmakers. and they got them the ball as quickly as possible. If you watch that offense, 90% of what they're doing is just snap, just quick striking offenses. And actually really balanced too. They ran a lot of running plays, that 2019 offense. Don't be confused that, oh, they never ran the ball. They were just lighting it up, throwing the football. They ran the ball, I think, 60, 50, I think it was like 45, 50 less plays. It was something like 860 to like 805 or something plays that they ran, rushing to throwing in 2019. So it was predicated on balance. And so what I think you've seen is a team just like in 2018 to 2019, where they really were handcuffed, handy, an offense that was really one-dimensional in 2018 that kind of started to figure itself out at the end of that season. I think you've got like an almost similar situation, not comparing Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow, not even thinking of doing that, not comparing any of our receivers to Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. No, I'm just simply saying that there is that growth factor there with the transfer portal quarterback from year 1 to year 2. All the pieces kind of falling into place, addition by subtraction in a few areas as well. You lose a guy like Kayshon Boutte, Jeray Jenkins, Jack Besh, who else? Trey Palmer, who transferred to Nebraska and is scoring touchdowns for the Buccaneers. There's a lot of different guys, receiver wise, who left LSU, either in that winter 2022, early 2022 transition from Orgeron to Kelly, or Deion Smith, another one, or just to the NFL with Jeray Jenkins and of course Kayshon Boutte. And so the receiving room kind of looks very different. A lot of new faces there, a lot of new freshmen, some hybrid tight ends. But I actually feel this receiving room is even better. I think this receiving room is going to have a lot more chemistry with Jaden Daniels. I think Jaden Daniels is at the right place now, going through the tough season where the receivers are dropping 22 passes. Meanwhile, Jaden Daniels also kind of letting them down with his timing, with how hesitant he would be to release that football, how slow his release was just anyway when he was throwing it. Now he's gotten his mechanics really, really polished. He's starting to throw that football with a lot of zip. He's starting to make the right reads. He's starting to really just make quick decisions. Just get the ball out, on to the next, get the ball out. Whether the drive is death by 1,000 daggers or a deep shot, he's really not hesitating anymore. And he's just letting guys go up and make a play, which I'm just like, thank God. Please continue, because if with this group, if you do that, I'm telling you right now, this group, you give these receivers, a guy like Kamorion Pimpton too, even Mason Taylor, how he's evolving, and Mac Markway, what he's turning into, Aaron Anderson in the slot. You give these guys opportunities, it is over. I really do believe that. This is an offense that can really take over teams. I think this is an offense that if they scored less than 40-something points on average, so basically putting up over 40 in at least a little over half of their games, 7 out of 12 games on the regular season schedule, say 8 out of 15, 9 out of 15, that's where we should be. We scored 34.5 on average last season. So saying let's average 42 is really not saying much with the addition of these weapons, with 4 out of 5 returning offensive linemen being able to get healthy through spring into fall camp with summer conditioning. You've got depth there on offensive line now. There's so many positives. There's some concerns as well, but there's so many positives, and you got to start with the offense. I really do believe Aaron Anderson is a superstar in the making. I think everyone's been saying Brian Thomas Jr., Kyron Lacy specifically. These guys are going to be the number 2. These guys are going to be the guy that really like helps Malik Neighbors get another 1,000-yard season, get the Bolitnikov, score 15 touchdowns, whatever. What if it goes a completely different way where Aaron Anderson, as that slot receiver, basically just makes it so this, every defense, every opponent, they have no clue how to cover us. They have no clue how to guard our guys. They have no clue who's the one they've got to cancel out. So every play, their backs are against the wall. Every play, we have the defense on on their heels. Every guy is a target. Every blade of grass is open for play, open for open season for us to absolutely take over. And in that way, this is a defense. I mean, sorry, this is an offense that can really help our defense. You think about a secondary that might have some issues. You see a really thin linebacker crew where, like, if one or two of these guys, Perkins or Spates, someone like that goes down, what do? Do we even have enough guys to survive a season if one of those two go down, like, early? Even Penn? Like, it's going to make Harold Perkins play a lot of snaps this season. Omar Speights play a lot of snaps this season. Greg Penn III is going to be as valuable as ever before. The Weeks brothers are going to be as valuable as ever before because you can tell the coaching staff trusts them to go in there, whether that be taking one of the guys' spots or being rotational. And they're making plays with Weeks with the pick six in the spring game, and then West Weeks actually intercepted Jaden Daniels in the spring game. Sorry, in the spring game, in the fall camp practice just a bit ago. But I really like what I'm seeing from Aaron Anderson. This guy, you put him in the slot, I think it's over. The mismatches that he can create, exploit, just the attention he will draw as well, especially from teams that know of his talents. That's just it's going to help LSU's entire offense. There's going to be so many options for Jaden Daniels, and it's all about making the right decisions. And that's what we've seen Jaden Daniels do, is make the right reads, make the right decisions here so far in fall camp. He's kind of taken that to the next level. Sitting here with Rivers, he's rolling around, being crazy. Every phase of this team is littered with superstars, and versatility or toughness or experience at key areas to help, like, the youthful majority along. And they're all coached by a pretty. We have a staff that was actually has some continuity in our coaching staff for once, even though we lost Jamar Kane, our defensive line coach, and now Jimmy Lindsay. We still have guys like John Jancic, who's been known by the players for the last year anyway. Bob Diaco is coming in as well. But still, besides those few moves, Brian Polian, not special teams coach anymore. Like, really, it's the continuity, the coaching staff, it's been really strong for LSU. Especially if you're talking about recent years. Very almost unheard of to keep all these guys around. It's going to be tougher to keep these guys around. Tougher to keep Matt House in year 3. Bless you, Rivers. Tougher to keep a guy like Robert Steeples in year 3. Tougher to keep a guy like Kerry Cooks. Tougher to keep a guy like John Zancic. So, we're going to have to do what we can, but some of these guys are going to get picked off, and I'm really worried about. We got to be able to pay them right, be able to protect some of these coaches. Keep a guy like Matt House on staff. Keep a guy like Matt House. Don't lose a guy like Robert Steeples. Where LSU's been lucky because we've only seen a few significant, like, injuries or even little issues. J.K. Johnson, the leg fracture he's gonna have to get his legs set. Brian Kelly said, like, ugh, that's just terrible. He's probably out for the season. I hope he can have a chance to come back. Probably an outside chance. Sorry, my back. Little. Got to re-straighten how I'm sitting there. There's a few other guys who've had some injury things, though. One of them that's really concerning. Mason Smith kind of hobbled off the field in practice. People are saying he ran off the field. He did not. He had to be assisted, kind of jogged off, and then kind of slowed it down. So whatever's going down with Mason Smith, it was obviously something that they stopped and took him out and never let him go back in. So it's obviously something worth um, looking into. And we've heard, he did get some type of scan. We've heard that it was most likely just kind of a deep contusion type situation, but it was lower leg. It seemed to limit his movement. Beyond that, we just don't know. So, really hope that Mason is okay. Obviously, they're going to keep that type of news, that type of stuff, extremely private. Like that type of stuff's not going to be anywhere for anyone to hear. But obviously, Brian Kelly will be updating everybody about that. Let me think. I think it's on Tuesday is the day that he updates the media on the injury status, the injury status of players. So he'll probably give us some more news on J.K. Johnson when we can see him back, but then also Mason Smith. Kamarion Pimpton had to have his lower back kind of like massaged or moved around or something messed with, and he was not at practice, the last practice. So you saw there were some missing guys. Kyle Parker has been missing the last few practices. We're not really sure why there, but you saw the offense really take over. But practices 5 and 6, the defense really responded. You saw Deuce Chestnut batting. I think it's 5 passes now total that he's batted across the last 3 practices. There's been interceptions on Jaden Daniels. Sage Ryan has had 2 interceptions in the last 3 games. Both were off of deflected or batted passes that went up in the air. And so, to me, that's almost like even cooler, even more difficult, because A, you're having to judge a football that's being deflected into the air, but B, I mean, look at a guy like Tyrann Mathieu. What could you say about him with all of his turnovers? He was always in the right spot, and the ball, whether it bounced to him, whether you could call him lucky, he was always in the right spot to receive that bounce. And we're seeing that from Sage Ryan. Last season, think about it. What was he doing last year? He created more turnovers than anybody. He was punching the ball out from Latu in the Alabama game, a play we should have maximized and recovered from. He was recovering 2 fumbles in the Southern game, one of only a handful of Tigers to even recover 2 fumbles in the same game since I could see available stats. It was Tyrann Mathieu was one of them. Brady James was another. Jacoby Stevens was another. And then it was Sage Ryan. So you've got, I mean, what a list to be a part of. That's crazy. This is how iron sharpens iron. You saw John Jancik's defensive line get handed their asses, kind of get handled by this offensive line for a few practices in a row. Really get embarrassed. Like Lance Hurd, freshman, really destroying sophomores and shit. But now you're seeing this defensive line get after it, get the pressures, and really pushing this offensive line into submission at times, and really winning the battles. And you saw some really intense physicality between them that almost started brawls again. There's been 4 or 5 of those situations where it's like, holy shit, Garrett Dellinger's about to punch that dude in the face. Stuff that was getting crazy. This is iron sharpening iron, people. Starters, ballers, kind of starting to rise above. There's only over 2 weeks left before kickoff in Orlando. This isn't a team though. I feel like last year though, where they need multiple games to kind of get in the groove, and you're gonna have like a schedule that's favorable because of all these easy home games at first and stuff, and there's some tests, but they're kind of the easier tests. Um, I think, as you can see from our schedule, there's a ton of difficult games early this season, and we're going to need to be ready like immediately. You got Florida State right out of the gate, a game we lost last season, but this time we have to go to Orlando, which is currently one of the hottest damn places on the earth. So, like, September 4th, we have to go right back there. I think it's like a year to the day from the first game at the Superdome. So that's very interesting as well. Will Mason Smith be ready for that game? That's something that'll be interesting. I think, even though this is a younger team, I think this is a group where if you look at it, yeah, a guy like you know Mason Smith hasn't played too many games. A guy like Will Campbell or Emory Jones haven't played a few years. But if you really look at it, they've actually had quite a lot of experience at LSU. So when you talk about, oh, they don't have as many juniors and seniors as we would like to see at LSU, you don't see the experience is lost. I disagree with that there. I think there actually is more of that than you'd think, but also like you can count some of the sophomores as being among those experienced leaders, just how much they've played, um, how much they've been around the game. It's been nuts. So there's a lot of redshirt sophomores, third year guys who maybe didn't play that first year, who have still have a lot to prove, but and still maybe didn't play as many snaps, but like have still been around the program, been around the game for so long. Out of the running back room, we wrote about this as well. Trey Holly, I think, could be a really brilliant surprise because people think Josh Williams will be the starter. They're penciling these guys in. They think, well, John Emery's back; he's got to be the starter. Well, Noah Kane scored the most touchdowns; he's got to be the starter. Well, sometimes it's never that simple. In fact, it's just the guy that they trust the most. And to be honest, they're probably going to rotate at running back so much that the title of starter may not even matter. So it might not even really mean anything. But what's really interesting to me is that Trey Holly has constantly been trusted from the get-go, from the beginning at LSU. Brian Kelly loved his vibe from the second he first talked to him. Trey's someone who's been through a lot too. He's got a chip on his shoulder. Even though he's set records, uh, broke unbelievable records no one thought anyone would pass in the Louisiana High School Association, high school football. He just was an animal. 160 rushing touchdowns, and I think over 10,000 rushing yards, which broke Nick Brossette's record. Just nuts. Well, but how could he, usurp like 7 or 8 running backs to get the starting job? That's a good question. But if you actually look at LSU's, running back room right now, they're suffering some issues. Josh Williams is continuously banged up. We haven't really seen him practice consistently in quite some time since the end of the season. And he wasn't practicing. I take that back. He wasn't even practicing for the Purdue game. He was out for that game. Um, Armani Goodwin is recovering. He is available. He looks good. But still, that there is that injury history. But we're loving what we're seeing from number 22, Armani Goodwin. Absolutely love what we're seeing. He's someone who could be a starting candidate as well, in my opinion, firmly. Absolute diesel. Logan Diggs, he's also recovering from injury from a hamstring, but he's available. He's getting it back, but he's practicing with the third team still. So that might be an indication of something, how they see him right now. he might be worked in more. You might see him have more of an impact second half of the season. Who knows? Fellow freshman Caleb Jackson, along with Trey Holly, he looks really raw. He fumbled the ball. He had the ball go through his hands and cause an interception that Sage Ryan handled. But he's also looked good too. He like ran over some dude. Trying to think of who it was in the footage, but I think it was one of the linebackers. I think it was like West or Whit Weeks or maybe like Sloan Wright or someone. He really ran them over. It was sick. But I feel like, and you also have John Emery Jr., who's just barely getting into the swing of things too. He did do a bit of the summer conditioning, stayed in shape throughout his academic exile, but Trey Holly's been there from day one. He's been there since January. Was only one of two running backs that Frank Wilson had to work with. Him and Noah Cain back in spring. He was asking Brian Kelly, "I got to talk to Coach Wilson. I screwed this up. I got to apologize." Which really, they just trust this kid. He's another one of those guys right out of the gates. I just see that there's something within Trey Holly that's going to make him be great at LSU. There's just an iron will. Um, People might say, well, he has a lack of size or a lack of strength, a smaller body. I don't agree there. I think he is an incalculable kind of strength. Look at Lionel Messi. He's probably one of the strongest footballers out there, soccer players out there. But you wouldn't think it just looking at him. But you cannot get him off the ball because of his brilliance and his center of gravity, low center of gravity, the way he uses his body. It's just something that is. Trey Holly has that same type of skill set. I know it's crazy to compare him to such an athlete like Lionel Messi, but I think his career already, Trey, speaks for itself. Um, Mason Taylor has competition at tight end. He's probably loving, Mike Denbrock's loving that as well. And Brian Kelly's got to be loving that. Maybe Mason Taylor isn't so much, but he played like nearly 1,000 snaps last season. So he's probably going to be like, okay, I have no problem. I don't want to have another off-season surgery like I had to last season, and he's not going to be the only one playing it, but they usually are using double tight end setups, 12 personnel, so you're going to see another tight end on the field really anyway, Mason Taylor or not, um, with Mac Markway, Kamari, and Pimpton. Denbrock said that Markway was the tight end who had the best camp so far, like out of the freshmen, as far as, he said moving himself in a position to contribute to the team. Jackson McGowan is a guy he called an unbelievable route runner, understanding of the passing game, how to create space for himself. He's someone we kind of underrate ourselves, Jackson McGowan. He could probably have an impact as well. There's times he gets lost in the film. There's times that he doesn't really pop, so you overlook him. He might have some big plays to be had. Kamari and Pimpton is someone who quite the opposite. He pops, he explodes off that screen. Fever dreaming with this young man. Fever dreaming. He is something special. One-handed catches, making it rain, burning people to a crisp, making DBs kind of embarrassed on plays. Kamara Pimpton has such a future, but he might have a really exciting present as well. We debated back and forth whether to put him in our top 5 offensive breakouts for LSU this season, and I think we had to just go with putting him in there because it was like he can't stop making plays, and we had that feeling, but now he's confirming it. We gotta double down here. Chris Hilton Jr. You saw the Jimmy Graham dunk. You saw Jimmy Graham retweet that dunk. You saw LSU football. There's a buzz about him. He's been consistently playing during fall camp. He's been consistently having good moments in fall camp. What can we say about Chris Hilton? He's shown a lot of strength. He's shown a lot of versatility, intensity. Let's see if we can get rid of this. Hmm. There we go. So here we go. There's Markway right there. There's Aaron Anderson. I remember right when he makes that catch, Denbrock loses it out. There's Chris Hilton, the guy right that we were talking about. Number 17, Chris Hilton making that catch. You know, love what we're seeing from Chris Hilton. There's some Kyron Lacey footage. Brian Thomas Jr. Ooh, there's a drop from Shelton Sampson. Oh, Aaron Anderson over the middle. Nice catch. So what I'm really liking about this team is there's just so many options. There's an endless buffet of options out there. An endless buffet. And the defense is starting to get in a groove. They're starting to figure it out, especially the front seven, which is where the strength of the defense will obviously be. But we've got to have some type of strength at the secondary to survive this season and to really thrive and to win a national championship. There's no way in hell LSU are going to be winning a national championship without forcing turnovers from secondary. We got to get interceptions. We got to break up passes. We got to strip the ball, cause some fumbles. There's got to be a pick six at least once or twice. Something. They've got to help that front seven. They're going to be really sucking for air. This offense has also got to be methodical in how they run their drives and when they stay on the gas pedal, but when they also recognize we have a tired defense, man. We need to buy them some time here and possess the football and hold that lead. They need to understand when to be patient, when to ram, the foot on the gas. That's really what I think as well. That's something that's really important to me is the balance of this offense. The lack of depth at linebacker. That's another one that we touched on earlier that freaks me out. But also trying to get the puzzle at secondary put together. That's really something that worries me too, because there's so many guys who could play multiple roles. Okay. And so it's all about, okay, we could have like 3 different guys play safety. Okay. We could have 4 or 5 different guys play nickel. We could have 4 or 5 different guys play this corner spot, 4 or 5 different guys playing that corner spot. You've got to pick the right one. You got to pick the right one. Ashton Stamps is looking damn good, but he's also getting beaten coverage on occasion. Sage Ryan's creating turnovers. He got beat by Malik Neighbors for a touchdown. Does that really matter? Getting beaten by someone who we think is the number 1 receiver in college football. So you've got to outweigh okay, we're playing. They're playing against our receiving core. So don't be so hardcore against our DBs and they're going to have a terrible season. Think of who they're guarding and understand how much better that's going to make them. Most likely. At least it should if they're really as hungry and motivating of an athlete as we think. Really, I'm very, very blown away by how many options we have. I'm stunned really by how many options we have at the skill positions. 9 scholarship running backs. All have different profiles. All can do different things. All can dominate in different ways. We have so much speed at receiver. We have speed at tight end. We even have 2 different starting quarterbacks literally, with Nussmeier and Daniels. So there are no excuses for this team to be dominant. There are no excuses for this team, in my opinion, not to make it back to Atlanta. We wondered what we would see in fall camp. Well, we've seen it. We've seen a team that has gotten healthier. They're not getting injured or banged up at the worst moment, at least not yet. Knock, knock on wood. Um, and so there, a lot of stars are aligning here. A lot of things are starting to work in LSU's favor. Can that train continue? Can the momentum continue into the season? Because I cannot sugarcoat this. We have to look right at LSU's schedule. Okay, it is hardcore. What is it? I think it's we have in the first few games. Okay, we got Florida State. We also got Mississippi State week 3, and I believe that is an away game. Yes, at Starkville. Arkansas at LSU. Then we go to Ole Miss to Oxford the week after that. Go to Missouri the week after that. And then home against Auburn. All before the Alabama game. So you have Florida State, a very, very dangerous game to play in week 1. Once again, you got Mississippi State, a team who has beaten us a few times, and I don't think has let us score more than like 36 points in the last like 5 years. Every time they hold us down, every time they really keep us in a frustrating type of game. Arkansas, always a bloodbath, always a dangerous contest, no matter what the score line, whether it's a blowout, whether it's like last year where it was just purely defense, field goals, like always a bloodbath. At Ole Miss, I know people are saying Ole Miss aren't going to be good this year. Ole Miss aren't going to be good this year. They got a lot of damn good quarterbacks on that team. They've got some really good skill position guys. That running back, Judkins, or whatever his name is, unbelievable running back, absolute freakish running back. And I swear to God, they have some good receivers as well. Even though they shown good in the first quarter and a half against LSU, and then completely folded. But then the Auburn game too, another just difficult, freakish, bizarre, anything can happen type of game where the stakes are going to be high. It's going to be wild. That's all before we play Auburn. That's all before we play Alabama. That's all before we play Florida. Okay? That's wild. You get Army the week after Auburn. Army. Then we get the bye. Then we play at Alabama. We get the Florida game. We get the A&M game at home. It's just like last year where last year we had an easy part of the schedule at the first, and then we had the real tough of the meat of the schedule was like the middle to end, right? This year it's like totally flipped. But then you've still got this sprinkling of difficult games even at the end. There's no gimmies here. You got Alabama, Florida, A&M in 3 of the last 4. So I wouldn't say they're gimme games at all. The whole schedule is difficult. The whole schedule is dangerous. The whole schedule is freaky. The whole schedule should make you worry about this team actually regressing in year 2 under Brian Kelly. If injuries, if poor play calling, if just making the wrong decisions in personnel, if just the worst type of just performance levels affect this team in year 2, with this type of schedule, you could catch the 4 or 5 loss season again. Not go back to Atlanta because Alabama is stronger this season. Because someone else takes complete control in the SEC West It's going to be a crazy season. It's going to be a crazy season. But this schedule, don't look at it and think, oh, that's the easy part of the schedule. This is the easy game. Bullshit. Every game on this schedule scares the hell out of me. You think that Missouri team isn't going to be fired up to play us with Mekhi Wingo coming back home? You think they aren't going to say that guy transferred from our team and trying to get everyone going? Hell yeah, they're going to do that. Every team on this schedule, we have crosshairs target right on our back. Oof, a big bullseye. And it's up to LSU in 2023 to navigate that and put together a championship season like we know they can. This team can win a national championship this year. It is no stretch. It is no hyperbole. This team should not only be in the college football playoff, they should be in the national championship game at least when you look at the talent they've got across the board here. I mean, is that a stretch? Is that crazy to say that? Is that just nuts for me to say that this team should be winning a national championship this season when you look at the talent we've got? We've got the most solid quarterback situation in the SEC, meaning if Jaden Daniels gets knocked out week 4, we've got a second starter in Garrett Nussmeier right there. Someone that a lot of fans, maybe not a lot, but maybe we'll say 30% of fans wish was the starter. So a guy that's good enough to get that much favor his way. So you've got so many different options where if certain guys get hurt, we're still good. There's a few guys on this team who I feel if they get hurt, we're screwed. Jaden Daniels is still one of them. Because if he gets hurt, I feel like he really is growing into his own where he is like going to get us into that college football playoff. Garrett Nussmeier, it'd still be a coin toss because this would still be his first season as starter. He would have to take those same licks and those same lumps that we just watched Jaden Daniels take last season, while we're also expecting him to take us to a national championship. So the whole thing would be unfair for Garrett Nussmeier if he were to have to be thrown into a starting situation this season. That would be tough for LSU. I think, is if Jaden Daniels went down. Harold Perkins, of course. Harold Perkins. I think if Harold Perkins went down, it completely destroys the speed on the defense, completely ruins how multiple we can be, completely ruins some of the leeway we can give certain guys because we know Harold's speed can make up for it. It's going to ruin a lot of what Matt House has designed for this defense, basing it around Harold. Mason Smith is a guy where maybe we could replace him. I really don't think we could for a second year because Mekhi Wingo's coming off a shoulder injury from having to play so much just to get through Mason's injuries. And he had an All-American season doing it. But I just think another year without Mason Smith, they're really going to know, okay, we got to double Mekhi Wingo. We got to shut Mekhi Wingo down on this play. And I think this is the season where it would be possible for them to do that if we didn't have a Mason Smith or someone there to really help in that middle. Because they know how good Mekhi Wingo is now. They knew how good he was last year, but still, he still kept just being unstoppable. And I expect Mekhi Wingo to have another electric season in year 2 as a Tiger, year 3 as a collegiate student athlete. Getting some water here. Hope you're all having a wonderful Sunday night. The dishes I must do. So I'm really excited for this next week here. We've got a former Tiger legend, member of the 2003 team, coming on the show. You all know him. You have all heard of him, and he won another championship at LSU. I'll put it that way as a coach. So strap in and get ready for an LSU legend to join the show once again. We had Kevin Falk come on. We've had Demetrius Byrd come on. We've had so many different legends come on this show, and here we go with another one. This is going to be fantastic to get this dude on the show. That's all we're going to say. We want the rest to be a surprise. Tune in for that. We're expecting that to be filmed Tuesday. Possibly have that out Wednesday morning. Maybe have that out Tuesday. I'm not exactly sure when we'll put that out. But we're going to make sure everything is put out in the right way, in the right fashion, so you all get to see it at the right time and get to really get into it and have the time to check it out and get entertained by it. But yeah, LSU scrimmage in Death Valley in Tiger Stadium this next Saturday. They're gonna have all the alumni there. The big time scrimmage for LSU to end fall camp. It will be in Death Valley. It will be in Tiger Stadium. The alumni will be there. It will be epic. So, yeah, that's how they're going to end fall camp, just like they did last season. They're going to have that scrimmage in Death Valley. Buckle up for that. And, yeah, everybody, have a good rest of your Sunday. And we'll be talking to you very soon. We're going to be doing a lot of live streams this next week. Buckle up.